Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Thanks
Good
for
morning.
joining us again. I'm Dylan,
I'm John.
and today we're coming back with another Facebook Live. But before we begin, John's going to give his coffee mug shout out.
Yes, this is a Yeti given to me by Innovative Benefit Solutions. So no logo from them, but appreciate the Yeti very much. Love Yeti, so thank you.
Thank you, Yeti. I can tell you he's happy with it.
Very.
All right, so we're starting off with a new topic today, and it's going to be technology and HR. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First question is, where does technology fit in human resources?
Where does technology fit? Everywhere, right? So there's not really a discipline of HR that at this point doesn't have some sort of opportunity, at least for technology to have a place in it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably most organizations have some, no matter how small or large they are, they have technology operating in some way, obviously with their payroll.
Mm-hmm.
They're using technology with recruitment. And when I say technology, it doesn't necessarily have to be proprietary technology, one's systems that are built and exclusive only to the company, although I know there are some organizations that do that, at least in part. But you think about posting a job online, and that's utilizing technology. I'm a little older, and so remember early on, I saw the nod. Yeah. Thank you. I remember early on, actually, we placed job ads in the paper, and so no, we're not doing that anymore, right? Everything's online, whether that's CareerBuilder, Monster, Indeed, LinkedIn. You're using these platforms of technology to post for a job that you need. So there's basic levels of technology that are being used in human resources. Certainly, I think some organizations are smarter about how they're using technology. But I think at last count, I don't know if this is 100% accurate. I feel pretty confident. I feel like the last read that I did, I think last year we spent, or it was either last year or 2017, we spent like $40 billion in HR technology in the US.
Wow.
So it's a huge industry. And some of our listeners out there, if they're involved in HR, know that there's some pretty significant companies that are constantly demoing new product, pushing enhancements to their products out. And so various HR related conferences, HR Tech, which will happen this fall again in Las Vegas, is a huge a warehouse, honestly, of established technologists who are providing HR solutions. But then there's this whole incubator. I think last year there were like 70 startups that just had these tiny little booths with their kind of play on what solution they might have from a technology standpoint and how that can help. So HR really profits well from technology.
And I do think with all the technology that HR can use, it definitely makes their process with recruiting and other things along that nature be more efficient, because you're able to get it out there more to.
Yeah, and I think also you it's a great point, and I think you have to think about it like, what are the processes that make sense to leverage technology for? That's probably the question that a lot of organizations aren't asking enough of.
Mm-hmm.
What is HR doing that really could be offset by technology? And in some ways maybe done better. I know that might sound crazy that it's better than a person, but technology is set up for systematic application, right? So if you set it up with a time, you set it up with a series of tasks to complete, it'll do that, right? It does it without a reminder. You just have it all set up. So anyway.
There we go. All right, so moving into our second question is, how much technology do you need in human resources?
All of it. I want it all.
Wow.
So next question. How much do you need? I think it depends on the size of the organization. Certainly budget plays into it. There's no way around that. But need, I think, is really based on objectives as well. So yes, you have to look at the size and the budget, but also what is it that you are trying to achieve? So for example, if you are trying to streamline certain processes internally, so from an employee relations standpoint, benefits administration, onboarding, and you need a systematic technological approach, well, then that's your need, right? There may be things that are like shiny quarters that attract your attention and you think will be awesome, but is that a need? I think that sometimes it's funny. I talked to a company the other day who they have a technology platform that is well above the size of the organization where they are, and they're paying for this technology. Now, good for the company that sold it to them. I want to give props to the business development exec who did that. But the company is paying much more for something than they really can actually use well. It's not that they're not using it, it's that they're small. And so they're not really getting the biggest bang for your buck. So think about scalability. What do I need today? Can I transition into something else as we grow or as we expand, whether by number, geography, service offerings? That then lays into what HR really needs for support. So need is a tough thing when it comes to technology, because part of the reason why tech does so well is because we're convinced that we need it all.
It has all the answers for it.
Right. We need everything. We need this scheduling tool and this app that tells us, this, that, and the other thing about each of our employees. We're taking surveys, doing wellness pulses, this, that, and the other. I'm not saying those things are unimportant, but I'm saying there is a relativity based upon the size of your organization. You're a 500-person organization. Do you need all the same things as a 50,000-person organization? I don't think so. But certainly the 500-person needs more than the 50, right? So there's a relativity to it that people should pay attention to.
And I do think budget plays an important role in that too, because like you were just saying, they might be paying for something that's meant for 50,000 employees when they're only 500. So
and in human resources, to be mildly stereotypical, perhaps, most of the time when we get into trouble with our finance departments, and for some of our organizations, some of the folks that are listening even, they've had tension with the director of finance, VP of finance, CFO, because HR isn't smart about the spend. We just throw these things and say, we need this, we need this, we need this. And there's some analysis done, and the finance person comes back and says, here's HR again, asking for all this crap. And it doesn't make sense for them to want it. So we have to be smarter about sort of putting the reason for the need together. And the one thing I will say from a data standpoint that technology really helps with is we have a lot more opportunities for data points to sort of prove the necessity behind some of the reasons for some of the technology we're looking at. And I think that HR pros should take advantage of that. Burson puts out a ton of data through Deloitte of various metrics that I think are very helpful in understanding what's going on in the labor market, understanding what's going on in the workforce as far as what they want to be connected to and how. It's a $40 billion industry because we keep making improvements and enhancements. So we can't be ignorant of that. We're in a tight talent market. So you have to be thoughtful about these other offerings that you could give that technology helps to set up.
Of course. All right, going into our third and final question, what are the differences technology will make in the industry?
Well, I think some of it we've touched on a little bit. So the difference is, one, and again, that we started to touch on as far as data is concerned, I think the metrics behind the work that is done in human resources are very important. Those metrics should be something that we start to outline. And it should marry to other data points within an organization. So what metrics are done on, reporting is done, I should say, on, P&L, and then some of the breakdown of the P&L, depending on the industry that you're in, cost of goods, our cost of labor. HR really can look at where our revenue points are and where our liability costs are and make some inferences based on other data points to say, okay, when we're firing on all cylinders here, not firing people, firing on all cylinders here, this is the impact we see. When we think we're firing on all cylinders here, we're not seeing the impact that we ought to see. Where's the disconnect, right? Sometimes that comes down to process improvement. That can lend itself to a technology discussion, right? Why this? Why that? I may have shared this before. I can't remember. I for a time worked for a manufacturing distribution center, right? And so in this particular distribution center, the replacement happened of people sorting, and they brought in a monster machine to do the sorting electronically. People were displaced from the job that they had and put into some other roles. There was a riff, but they saved a lot of jobs as well by just reassigning people. But the machine took over the sorting, which was very time consuming. And the machine was able to do it in a fraction of the time that it took people to do it, because it could operate at a high speed, and it cost a whole lot less over time than manning this labor pool. Okay, what's the point? Well, the point is that these folks were able to enhance their skills in other areas because they were pulled out of that one. And the company, because of the addition of that technology, raised profitability because it was able to push out a lot more to, in this case, it was a retail distribution, to a number of its stores across the country at a quicker clip. And the more that you put into the stores, the more that people were buying because you had more inventory.
And I'm glad you made that connection with, most people would think it's a bad thing when a machine takes over and employees, kind of pushed to the side. But like you said, they're improving in different areas. I think when most people look at technology, AI and stuff like that in the workforce, they think it's taken over jobs.
Right.
In reality, there are the pros that can come out from it.
Absolutely. And I think there's more to talk about maybe at another time. But, AI is a great point. If we're going to look at global HR technology, a lot of it is really going to be about task and repetitive task-oriented stuff. Some of it will be very predictive. And so, there are things like chatbots that will help do some initial assessment work in recruiting. And they ask a series of questions, and they're knockout questions. Yes, 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 no. Once that no happens, that person's not qualified for it. And it's something that is repetitive. There are 6 questions, yes or no. That's not something a person has to do. It's something that technology can do. But then the next level of it, we need more of that personal touch, the human in human resources, to walk people from a recruiting standpoint in this one example, to walk people through, okay, what are the critical steps now? You've met phase 1, maybe even phase 2. Now phase 3, let's look at your behavior. We'll do some assessment work. We'll pull apart the assessment work and understand what makes you tick. Some of that is still going to require, obviously, a human touch and human interaction. Technology can't do all of it, but it can do a lot.
It can.
And we shouldn't be afraid of it.
You should not. All right, well, that wraps up our talk on technology and HR for today. Like John said, we're going to continue on speaking about technology as a whole and HR. I want to thank everyone for coming out today to watch the Facebook Live, and I want to thank those who are going to come out later and see it. It will be on our YouTube, I want to say, by early afternoon, so you can go ahead and check it out there.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.